Hello, Tom Lavecchia here with a special edition of the New Theory podcast. Today, I have a legend, a rock and roll legend, Dee Snider of Twisted Sister. Dee, welcome to New Theory podcast. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Some really exciting things going on with this new petition I've got going to bring ACDC to Super Bowl 55 in 2021.
So I saw your post. First of all, I saw the Facebook commercial using your song, so that was pretty dope. So I love it that you just continue to live on. But more importantly, you got a gripe. Why don't you kind of go a little bit about the background, your thoughts, and what traction you're getting?
Well, full disclosure, we should mention that you and I know each other.
Yes.
That you handle my website and all that stuff like that. So we got a relationship. So Tom's very inside, so to speak, when it comes to the world of Dee Snider, no doubt. Yes. But this sort of came out of left field, and I think you know that as well, because after I watched the Super Bowl and saw the, I don't know what word I want to use, but adjective, let's just say saw the J-Lo and Shakira show.
Correct.
I was kind of had one of those, is that all there is moments? And I said, I get it. This is a world stage, and all music should be recognized at, popular music at one point or another. But I said, how long has it been since we had a real rock band out there? And I went online and I quickly found out it's been 10 years, a decade, since a real rock band took the field at halftime. So I just mentioned it sort of in frustration on Twitter, and it just erupted. People immediately reacted. And I realized that here was a cause that just needed a champion, needed someone to take the torch and run with it. And I started down the path. So,
all right. And I'm glad you shared the disclosure. So I was going to do it at the end, but either way. And we're not going to let Dee off the hook, which I love. So I'm with you actually. So I actually agree. I'm like, wait a second, you know what? Where's like an ACDC, even the Twisted Sister came back, or whoever was big that would resonate with a segment of the audience, right? But I want to play devil's advocate for a second and say, hey, you know what? Prior to those 10 years, didn't rock have a good run?
And that's a fair statement. It did have a good run. I mean, and it was The Who and Tom Petty and Aerosmith and I'm trying to think of U2. So they definitely had a good run. And now for the last 10 years, we've been more pop oriented. And quite honestly, I don't care. I don't accept that, we gave you, some time a decade ago, and there's so many levels to this. But one of them is, the NFL I know they're catering to a younger audience. They want to bring in a younger audience, but they can't forget who's paying the bills. When you're charging $2,500 plus for a Super Bowl ticket, when you're selling electric Hummers on your Super Bowl commercials, you got to know who's being targeted there. You got to know who's paying the bills. The young kids may be hanging out in the room watching the game, but mom and dad put the damn big screen on the TV and are paying for the Super Bowl party. So, again, I get it. All the forms of music should be recognized. Hell, I mean, to be totally honest, I think country has been completely dissed. They've never been recognized or acknowledged. And Garth Brooks, and I'm not a country fan, but Garth Brooks is fully capable of rocking a stadium, So I mean, I think they just need to be a little more even-handed.
So I get that. And so it's kind of like as a marketer, you got your customers who buy and consumers who, consume. And the customers happen to be, and whether we like it or not, rock and roll is going to age up. So you're right. The people that may be attending the event or watching the event are probably more, hard rock or rock focused. So I agree with that. But what do you do to say to the critics that there might be a racial undertone or racial overtone in the messaging of Bring Rock Back? Walk me through your thoughts on that. I mean, you did a ton of radio. If somebody hasn't asked you that, they probably should have. So what about the whole racial overtone or undertone that could possibly be perceived on this?
Well, it's read into the music. It's read into that, even though it's not a fair assessment. The thing about picking ACDC, there's a lot of bands that they could handle the task. Stadium rock bands like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, Foo Fighters. I went with ACDC because they're one of the biggest selling bands in history. Their album Back in Black is the second biggest selling album in recorded history. It's Thriller, then Back in Black. And when you sell 45 million copies internationally on a record, it's not because headbangers are buying it. It's because everybody's buying it. And first time my eyes really opened, I'll tell you a story, Tom, it's pretty funny. I was hosting a show for VH1 Classic called A Very Classic Thanksgiving. And the idea was like a round table Thanksgiving dinner with people from all genres of rock. And at the table, the ones I remember were Terry Nunn from Berlin, Eddie Money was there, Clarence Clemens from the East Street Band, Davy Jones was there from the Monkees, MC Hammer, and a couple others who were probably angry that I don't remember they were there. But so the question I had, I had a series of questions. The question was, if you had to pick a single song to represent you, what would it be? And asking the question in my mind, I said, yeah, Mr. We're not going to take it, And I go to Hammer, and I figure he's going to say, don't touch this. And I said, so Hammer, what song? And MC Hammer goes, dan, da-da-dan, da-da-dan. And Tom, every single person at the table, including Davy Jones from the Monkees, went da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and everybody started headbanging because this music crosses over. I went online because I knew this was going to be thrown up at, not that you're not throwing it up, but it's a fair question. There have been dozens of hip hop songs that have sampled AC/DC.
Yep.
So you're talking about a band that crosses over generationally. Sorry about that, man. Crosses over generationally as well, because they, I was talking to some millennials, and I go, AC/DC, I don't really know any of their songs. I said, Thunder. And they went, oh, da-na-na-na. I said, yeah. How about Dan? Oh, I know that one. How about Dirty D? I know that one. I started running that. You shook me. I know that. They know the songs. They've heard them on commercials. They've heard them on soundtracks. They watched Avengers and saw Iron Man arrive to Back in Black, or Thunder or whatever. They know the songs. They just don't necessarily know the band. So I think there's a lot more crossover in a band like this than people realize.
You're right. And even just listening to just what you just said, I'm like, wait a second, that was them. But here's the thing, though. Jay-Z's not an idiot, right? He's a smart business guy. Historically, I believe has been somewhat inclusive in terms of, like, he did a song with Rick Rubin, not 99 Problems. And I thought that was a cool kind of crossover. So, in his actions, I think he's been representative of his community, which I think is great. But also, he seemed like an open-minded guy.
Yeah, he did a song with Linkin Park.
Correct.
He did a song with Linkin Park. So I've said it on a thing. I bet you anything Jay-Z's an AC/DC fan. They just have this broad appeal, and that's one of the reasons I focused on them.
Love it. All right. So what are you doing about it? I know there's some stuff going on. I do know about it, but I'd rather you share with what's going on, and we'll provide the resources to help you make it happen, Dee.
Well, as you know, being my webmaster, I am fairly social media inept. I've had some success, but it's kind of stumbling around in the dark. It feels like, well, you're brilliant. Your branding's on. What branding? I'm just like throwing things out there, and sometimes they stick.
Yeah.
So to that effect, somebody said you should start a petition, and I tweeted, "How do you do that?" And then one of my followers, Gina, I don't know her last name, she said, here you go. And I go, oh, great, petition, let's go. So so now we've got tens of thousands of signatures, which is great. But the truth is, it's going to take hundreds of thousands to get noticed. So we've got a long way to go. This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's going to take some time, but it's got to go viral at some point. And you had spoke to me about doing some things to help with that, and I welcome your help, and I welcome the audience help. It's not just about going to, I keep forgetting the name because I kind of hate it, change.org. It sounds very political. Change.org, ACDC. Put that in a Google search, it'll come right up. It's not just about signing a petition. It's about then posting it on your Facebook, posting on your Instagram, sharing it with your friends, put it on your website. Each person's signature has got to be worth more than just one name, you know?
Agreed. And one final question, and we'll put a link below, folks. And Dee has been on like tier 1 media for the whole week. So the fact that he came on our show shows his testing and commitment. But it's got to be a little ironic or a little crazy for you where you were the rebel rouser. You were, the change guy. You were the kind of the guy who, was the rebel, if you want, and respectfully, in a good way. And you really changed a culture that crossed generations. And now it's like kind of the opposite. I mean, you're going back to those roots in terms of making change, but yet the same token is it's not as edgy as it was. You know what I mean? Like now, like J-Lo is edgy, and it's like it's got to be like a clusterfuck. Like so. Walk me through that a little bit.
Well, it's funny. You talk about back in the mid '80s, I was in Washington defending free speech, and my song "We're Not Gonna Take It" was on the Filthy 15. And by comparison to some of today's things, it's easy listening. Yeah. It's easy listening. I told Marilyn Manson, I said, dude, in a few more years, Beautiful People is going to be a fun song. You were writing this, beautiful people. And people are going to be, yeah, beautiful people. Big smiley faces singing that song from their youth. So, I mean, I think it's just the nature of things. And, I take the point that I'm fighting for old stuff, but I'm a real supporter of music in general. And that's one other level to this thing. The words rock is dead have been bandied about too often for the last few decades. And it just sort of sits there. And if people don't deny it, it just sort of becomes truth.
Yeah.
And it's not truth. I've been going to concerts with my daughter and my sons who are younger now, they're in their 20s and 30s, but for years now, and seeing the young, hungry, passionate musicians, bands, they're out there, they're just not getting a spotlight shined on them like they used to. And it's partially a part of the way things have gone with social media, where it's all, and you know about this very well, target marketing. Right. You find your audience and don't waste your advertising. In the old days, it used to be like a carpet bombing advertising. You went on billboards, you went on buses, you went everywhere. So whether you liked it or not, you heard the name Twisted Sister. Right. But now they're finding who's your audience and then selectively reaching out to them. And you go to these concert halls and there are passionate fans. I go to the Van Warped Tour and there's tens of thousands of young people singing every word, so the passion, the beauty is there. We are lacking that moment, like it happened many years ago for my generation, the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. 75 million people watched the Beatles and thousands of bands were launched. Thousands of careers were launched. And I really believe, and even though it's a bunch of old guys, to see ACDC at the halftime show, and they're still doing what they do, playing those songs and just rocking out, I think it could launch 1,000 new guitar players, 1,000 kids saying, Mom and Dad, I want to rock. I want to play a guitar. I want to do that. If you see the right moment, and the audience is there, hundreds of millions, it's an opportunity to reignite the interest in rock and roll and say, no, it's not dead. It's alive and well, and it's just waiting for you. So I'm really passionate about it, man. I am, because it's unfair to the young bands. I see them, I literally get choked up because they've got no hope of making money doing this. They're still doing it because they got to. It's that thing in you that says, I don't care if I never make a dime. I got to get up there. I got to do this because this is what I love. And I've always been a big supporter of new bands and new music.
I love it. Dee, listen, I love everything you're saying. I had some thoughts on my side. I'm like, hey, where is this going? And you know what? Not only, again, full disclosure, I'm on board because I'm just on board. And I love it. We love the fact that you took the time. And folks, check out the petition below. And you can find Dee Snider at DeeSnider.com and then at Dee Snider on Twitter. Dee, thank you again for being on the New Theory podcast, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, and we will speak again probably about the website. Okay. Hey, take care, Tom.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.